What's up guys, welcome back to Astroneer. In this video we'll be finishing up our factory that makes every resource in the game. So one thing to know, you're going to need a scrap factory like this before we begin, since this factory relies on scrap. And we'll use that to make every single resource that you can use. I'm going to be going over how to build this, and then I'm going to show you how it works. So if you want to skip to the end right now and just see how it works, that's fine. You can just skip to this timestamp. So we're working off these plans here, and this is the section that we're going to be finishing with. Now if you want to build this yourself, here are the resources you'll need, and I wish you the best of luck. So you're going to need a bunch of these medium platforms to start off with. We're just going to be making all of the platforms at the same time, just to help with efficiency. So a lot of this is going to be the same, and we're just going to be putting these platforms all across here because we're going to need 10 of these rows like this. So we're just going to angle these a little bit like that so that it creates a little triangle, like a circular triangle. And you're going to put some more platforms down here like this, just like that. Now you'll want to put a bunch of these medium platforms down right in front of those platforms you just made. And some large platform Bs. These are going to be your trade stations, and this is going to allow you to trade your scrap for the resources that we need. So I'm just going to straighten these out a bit, make sure that all these platforms are pointing towards each other, because on the medium platforms we're going to have auto arms like this, and we want to make sure it's in the right spot. So you see this blue area, we're going to make sure that it's not touching that last part of the large platform B like that. And then make sure that the green part's covering the platform right before it. So then again, I'm checking all of these ones. That one looks pretty good, so I'm just going to check all of these. That one looks a little bit out of alignment, so I'm just fixing any that, you know, look a little bit funky. Now we're going to put down a second line of these medium platforms. And once again, these are all going to have auto arms on them, so just make sure that the green area covers this last little bit right there. It doesn't really matter if it overlaps. So then we're going to take a large T platform, and we're going to start on the special sections. So before this, pretty much everything was the same, but each resource requires its own processing. So each of these are going to be a little bit different in how they're processed. So for this one, we're going to need a chemistry lab with gas, so that's why I have a large T platform. So I have this little side channel right here, and that's just going to allow us to bring some of the graphite out. So now we're going to put auto arms on those platforms. So now I'm going to start adding some of these large platform A's. These are going to have the silos on top of them just like that. You can use a smaller storage if you want to, but it's really beneficial to have a larger one because sometimes this can be bogged down, and the main advantage of this is that it just runs all the time, and whenever you need it, it'll just have the container all the way filled up. So make sure that none of these arms are actually placing on platforms other than the one that they're pointing to. This one's actually going to need to be moved a little bit because this arm here can actually reach it, but I'll do that later in the video. Now make sure again that the blue circle is just like that, it's not touching the back part. In total we're going to be making 13 resources, so you're going to need 13 of those large platform A's. That's what it looks like right now. I'll start on the next section here. sort of pushing stuff together because it's starting to get a little bit out of hand. Hold up for a second. You're actually building this? You're a fucking goat, dude. I want you to join my Discord server. The link is in the description. We talk about some epic shit there. If everyone leaves a comment saying I am a gorilla, everyone who isn't building this will be super confused, so don't tell them about this. And you'll notice I have sort of conveyor belts towards the ends of these, and that's just to bring it forward to the storage containers. Because some of them are longer, but in the end I just want it to be easily accessible for every resource, so it just makes it a lot easier when you're looking for a resource if they're all in a straight line. Now I'm going to actually put the auto arms on these platforms in the front. You're going to need to put one on every one of these platforms like that, in a line, and then on every one that is not slanted. This is what everything looks like right now. If you need to double check, you can make sure everything's in the right place. Now I'm going to be setting the filters for these auto arms. So when you put an item in the middle slot of an auto arm, it'll only pick up that item. That's super useful for us because it just helps organize things a lot more and make sure that there's no jams in the system and that nothing's picking up anything it shouldn't. Alright, so now we're going to put some medium storages down. You're going to want to put 2 on those platforms that are by themselves there, and then 1 on the end of each one of these large platform Bs. And then same thing with these ones over here. You're going to want to get a large object that's packaged, and you're going to want to put it on the other end of these large platform Bs. And that'll block the slot and make sure that no items are put onto those platforms right there. So now we're going to put some trade platforms down. So now we're going to go through all these trade platforms and make sure they're set to the correct settings. We're going to start with graphite, ammonium, compound, organic, Lithium, Resin, Quartz, Organic, Organic again, and then finally corn. Then you're going to put some power switches down in front of each one of these sections, and that'll just let us shut the section down while we don't need it to be working. And these front arms are going to be loading these platforms up, and those are eventually going to fill the trade station. And so when the trade platform comes back with resources, we don't want it to start filling it up again until it's out of resources. If it fills up with scrap and there's still resources left on the rocket, they'll actually fall off and it'll make a mess, and it'll just completely ruin your world. You'll not have a fun time cleaning it all up. So we're just going to connect this front section to power. They're just going to go in a line like this, make sure you don't cross them. So that's what this power section looks like. And then we're going to start hooking up this back section to power. And you're going to want to have all this constantly powered, so you can just connect everything together like this. For now though, we're going to unplug it just so that nothing turns on. That's what it looks like. Everything's just connected together. Pretty simple. And then we're going to turn all these auto arms on. And then you're going to want to leave the second row of auto arms off, but the first one's going to be on. So now we'll start wiring these up. You're going to need 2 storage sensors, and one of them is going to be put on that first platform, and the second one's going to be in the medium storage. The second one is going to be set to empty or not empty. This is really important. Make sure not to forget this step. We're going to wire this first one to these first 2 auto arms, and then also the trade platform. And then we're going to take the second one and we're going to bring it all the way to the front to where the power switch is. And we're just going to connect it to the power switch. So now you're going to do that for every station here. I like to do the wiring sort of opposite to each other so that it's more neat. You can do it all the same way if you want. This is what it should look like when it's done. Now we're going to put some chemistry labs down. This first one's going to be set to hydrazine, and make sure you set it to repeat. This one's going to be set to plastic. This one's silicone. This one's going to be set to rubber. This one's going to be set to explosive powder. And then put 2 more down over here. This one's going to be set to make graphene, and the second one is going to be set to make diamonds. So for some of these chemistry stations, you're going to need gas. So if you haven't seen my other video, you're basically going to need a tower like this or any other storage and a bunch of these medium gas canisters. And you're going to want to set an outpost up on one of these planets just like this. And we're just going to have an atmospheric condenser put on the same platform as your storage, and you're just going to set it to repeat with a power source, and then you'll come back. It's going to take a while to fill it up, so come back later and it'll be all filled up. And you're going to do that with every planet to get these gases, and you're going to want to put them on the right chemistry stations just like that. Now we're going to take these packages, and I forgot to put them on these large platform Bs, so we're just going to do that. And then we're going to put a furnace on these. Make sure you turn the furnace on. Now a bunch of these resource canisters, you're going to need 13 of them. And just put them all on the end here. Make sure you connect the power here, and you can start it right up. You can see that this conveyor belt in the front is just going to pass the scrap along, and then each section is just going to grab one as it comes by, and it'll fill up its platform, and then it'll fill up the trade platform, and then that's going to bring materials down, and it'll be further processed by the factory. Now you can see we have this section up here, and this is our processing end. So we've got a bunch of different chemistry stations and furnaces, and those are just going to carry the resources through the works, and so that it can be transformed into the various end resources that we want. So some of these chemistry stations use gas, so I have 3 stations that need that, and they're all just supplied with the tower of gas, and that's able to produce 2,000 resources each. So you're pretty much good on 1 fill up of gas. Something I want to do in the future is make a system where it'll automatically supply a printer with whatever it needs, and I have that in the works right now. I actually have a working design. I also want to thank everyone for the support recently. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so that's pretty huge. If you're interested in playing this world yourself, I put the download on my Patreon. I don't like when people put stuff behind huge paywalls, so I made it really cheap, so go check that out if you're interested in playing this world yourself. Thanks for watching my video to the end. It really helps me out in the algorithm. I hope you'll join me for my next video.